wish I could.
Wasn't touched by the war either, so it's original.
This meeting of the Board of Education is now called to order. Please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone to our meeting tonight, and we'll get started by approving our agenda. There's a motion on page 2. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented?
No.
Aha. Anyone want to make a motion?
Sure.
Great.
I move that we, I cannot speak. The Board of Education approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. Very good. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. I will proceed with our agenda as presented and move to the superintendent's report. Mark?
Thank you, Randy. The only report we have this evening is an update on our bond project, and Johnny Edwards is here to present that.
Thank you so much, Superintendent B. Lang and members of the Portage Public Schools Board of Education. We have a little slideshow with some images, but just a little bit of our narrative. It's at Central Elementary School. We have several of our projects in progress. It's amazing that we're almost 4 months away from opening of a new school, or actually 2. So now we have the student cubbies or lockers going in. Marker boards are going in the classrooms or studios and in the hallways. A lot of work around doors and hardware. Windows and blinds are being installed. Tile or wall protection, lighting controls, gym floor, carpet, elevator installation, and they're also finishing off a drywall and painting. Furniture delivery will begin on Monday, April 21st. And then Monday, May 5th, we will have our second and final staff construction walkthrough Central Elementary School. And if you're around over spring break, we demoed the existing entrance at Central L. We put in some of the storm structures and piping to mitigate any traffic concerns for the summer when we get ready to demo and put in a new parking lot. Over at Haverhill, similar projects are in place with cubbies, door frames, carpeting of learning studios. They're working on restroom fixtures, ceilings, and wall protections. Furniture will be delivered start to begin on May 8th. And our second and final construction walkthrough would also be Thursday, May 8th. Over to Woodland, I attended along with Dr. Kelly Jasenius and Mark as well. We were all at the Woodland Family Night on March 25th. This is a well-attended event. Over 400 people were there. We had an area in the gymnasium where we had many of the renderings up for Woodland Elementary School, and there was a lot of excitement among the students and parents. In addition to that, at Woodland, we launched a QR code system, which we'll share in the future, which allows you to have a virtual reality experience in the new school, similar to what we did for Central Haverhill. And then unrelated to our bonds, we have 3 new vans that the board approved. All 3 vans have been purchased, and they are in service as we speak now. So that's my update, and I want to add a few photos and answer any questions. Just starting with Portage Central Elementary School. This is just a quick shot of our entrance as that is coming into play. Obviously, the door frame at the main entrance is not installed just yet. That'll be one of the last things to be done once we get all of our equipment through the main entrance. This is just a shot of one of the what they call tree houses, an area that'll be in a hallway where the students can sit on the floor. They can do some learning outside activities, and teachers can bring students outside of the learning studios. You can see some of the tile going into the restrooms area there. This is again Central L, so it's a nice combination of blue and white throughout the school. Now going down the hallway, the photo on the left you'll see is an extension of our Learning Commons area. The lights have been installed. It's nice and bright, nice LED lighting there. And then the ceiling is painted blue there in the Learning Commons. And that's an example of one of our classrooms. Learning studios there. You can see the connection to another adjacent studio. Carpet is installed. The cabinetry is also installed. Teaching wall is installed. That's just from a different angle. You can see on the right of the first photo where the teacher station would be. For all intents and purposes, there'll be a television monitor, 75-inch, inside of that cabinetry. And also that cabinetry will have a whiteboard on top, so teachers can close it up if you don't want to see the television, and they can use it for a marker board. Here's your gym. All 6 hoops are up. And we have sound panels going in now throughout the gym, and they'll be moving towards the gym floor, resilient floor. And there's a lot of mechanical work going on behind the scenes, and that square footage is definitely used to have us proper cooling and heating throughout the year. You know, Haverhill, similar, as you can see, finishes are a little bit different there. A darker wood tone for that teaching wall area, different paint colors for Haverhill as well. The photo on the right is just an image from the staff lounge. Refrigerator will go in at some point, but that's the cabinetry area within the staff lounge. At Haverhill, this is on the 2nd floor. You don't have to ask me how do I know it's the 2nd floor. I think I've been in them enough times, but this is looking out one of the upper level commons area. So you'll see that nice natural light that'll be coming into the school there. Then some images from the gymnasium. All 6 hoops are also installed at Haverhill, and painting is throughout the gym. Still waiting for the flooring. This is a pretty cool shot here. This is the library, and that mural is about finished. The lights are in now, and so as students are inside of the library, they'll be able to look up and see that nice mural each day. And here's another look at some of the restroom areas there. Nice tile dimensions. One person said it looks kind of like a nice hotel there. So it was a pretty cool feature. The architectural design is to make it look like there are like tree limbs there in the tile structure. Those are the photos attached to my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have about our construction update.
Great update, Johnny. Thank you.
Not sensing any anxiety from you. I'm sure there are 1,000 little anxieties, but it seems like things are on track and.
Honestly, Bo, we do progress update meetings every 2 weeks at the job site with all of our contractors that are on site. It's going to be a nice pinch to the finish line at Central Elementary School because we have to demo the existing building. We have to take out some of the existing parking lot and lower that about 4 feet and then put in a new parking lot. So that's going to be a pinch point for us, which basically means as we roll into our August kickoff, maybe all the landscape isn't done. Maybe we don't have all the lines painted at the last minute, but we're going to be working, quite aggressively throughout the summer to demo and put in a new parking lot simultaneously. We have a nice relationship with both contractors, so they're playing nice in the sand together. One person starting on one end, another person starting on the other end, so that everything can be done. But we've put in some protection from the demolition crew. They have roughly 10 days to take the building down, and then they have to pay a fine back to us or give us a credit back if they don't meet their timeline. So we've really put the pressure in a good way on our demo crew to make sure we're ready to go. And thankfully, because we have to do some abatement, they'll actually have 2 crews going on, kind of like a morning crew and an evening crew that'll be working on the abatement throughout the day and evening at Central L.
It's nice seeing the updates, and the library lights gave me the initial impression of Harry Potter, which might be fun for the students if they think this. Anyone else? Yes, I'm seeing some nods. And just like the candles coming down, and that might be kind of fun for students as they sit and read.
Absolutely, and it's a huge upgrade, in both schools, particularly because there's no natural light in either library. Both libraries at both schools are on the inside of the school. And so this is going to be a huge upgrade for our students. And then obviously the volume of the ceiling to make that space feel a lot different.
Wonderful.
All right, thank you.
Johnny keeps a pretty level demeanor when it comes to dealing with the stress of that construction project. And actually, he was coming back from an event out of town when he came to the school here and saw that we had the fire trucks for the fire in the receiving area, and just happened to be on the scene at the, I don't call it the right time, but at a time where he could interact with the fire department and the folks there. But that, some of the reporting on that was a little not totally accurate. It was not in the wood shop. It was everything was in the receiving area in the back, which is adjacent to the wood shop. So there was no, the only damage that you would call would be in that receiving area, and other than the smoke that infiltrated the rest of the building, that took a little bit of time to get out. But we did lose a number of caps and gowns for our graduates, so that had to be reordered. So they'll be getting here a little bit later, but it's all been taken care of. Paula was on it right away with our insurance company, making sure that we had our coverage and everything taken care of. So we bounced back from that very quickly. So it's going to be a busy year come to construction. But it's also a busy time of the year anyway. And I know that, board, you have several other additional board meetings during the month of May as you work to fill this position. And then school activities. I know some of you are aware of what's going on because of your own kids or grandkids. And we'll try to keep you appraised of what's, some of the more major activities that you may want to stop by and acknowledge. So we'll keep you up to date on that. And then also, if you didn't come to the last KCSOA, the Kalamazoo County School Officials meeting, the May meeting was changed to May 21st, which is a Wednesday night, and it'll be held at the new Career Connect Center one day in advance of when the open house is for that facility. So you'll get a sneak preview if you come to the KCSOA meeting on Wednesday evening. And Barb will have more information if he hasn't sent it out already. You'll be getting more information on that. So, yeah. Other than that, we came back from spring break and went right into our testing window. So last week was a different schedule for our secondary students, so we could accommodate testing, and everything seemed to have gone well. And we continue at the elementary levels from now until the middle of May. Busy for everyone. So I'm ready to move into the board education piece unless there's any questions that you have. All right. So board education is our piece today is around community high school and all things happening there. And Clint Wagner, who is our principal there and has been for a long years, right? Is here to give you a report without slides or anything. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, Clint.
Good evening. I want to thank Superintendent Beeling and the board for having me here this evening. Also want to introduce Jen Hostetler, Dean of Students, who came this evening as well. Going to dive into it because Superintendent Beeling said I only have 45 minutes. So we'll get going.
I saw your nose just grow a little.
I know, sorry.
Did you say 4 to 5? 4 to 5.
4 to 5, that's correct. I'll give you a brief overview of Community High and some of the historical information because, as Superintendent Beeling said, I have been there quite a few years. And so how the program has changed over time, what our current numbers and district breakdown is, some of our programming offerings and initiatives that are underway, also some of the current challenges we face, and finally, hopefully leave enough time for questions that you have. So, brief overview. In my time, which is close to 30 years in Portage Public Schools, all of them have been at Portage Community High School. And so The nature of it, when I first came in 1996, it was a adult education and mostly a GED testing center. Over time, that has changed to a high school diploma completion program that was specifically aimed and targeted recently dropped out students, but were close to high school age. And then the program morphed again into a more traditional program as we know it now, geared towards high school students who were considered at risk, but mostly at that time were junior and senior level. Currently, the state of our program is very similar in terms of a traditional program as we know it, but it currently serves 9th through 12th grade students. We've seen the need and the nature of our students who are considered at risk and the struggles that they're going through. Those ages, it has changed over time, and we are seeing students at need or at risk younger and younger. And so currently our program supports students 9 through 12 with almost the entire program being geared towards Portage public schools students. In the past, it was a countywide program, and we still have students who are out of district, but the main numbers, and which I'll go over when we get to some of the breakdown, almost entirely Portage students at this point. And so we are proud to be able to serve that for the district. Okay, so that leads into current numbers. Our current numbers exist at approximately 133 students. Okay, that will go up and down a little bit over the course of the year. Second semester tends to be a time that students may come to us from Portage Northern and Portage Central based on need. Those needs can fit their, essentially show up in terms of behind in credits, some behavioral concerns, or just the need for a smaller setting, which we certainly are compared to the size of Portage Central and Portage Northern. Out of those 133 students, just recently this year, 22 students have moved into the district and came directly to community high. Now that would happen either by request or because as they moved into the district, they were behind in credits or came from a very similar size program or similar program. And so we fit that need for those students who moved into the district and certainly were very similar to the program they came from. 72 of our current students are from the Portage Northern boundaries, and 32 are from Portage Central's boundaries. And so those numbers will change. In my time, they have flexed a little bit. And so that is just this year's numbers. In previous years, it's been normalized a little bit more, and Northern has been a little bit higher in terms of students who attend community high, but they were fairly close. This year, there is a difference in that. Out of our students, 24 students out of the 133 receive ESI supports, and that's educational supports and interventions. 16 of our 133 are currently unhoused, which means homeless. And we currently have 5 out of the 133 who are ELL, English language learners. And so they're doing very well. And so it is very nice to wrap around those students who have just come here and really don't speak any English at this point. And so it's been an interesting challenge, but it's nice to see their faces that they enjoy to come to school and feel safe. And so that's been a good thing for us. Over the course of the year, the years I would say, the need of community high has changed in terms of credit attainment. The difficulties come into play simply from the standpoint COVID hit hard. And when it hit hard, all students were affected. Certainly those at-risk students were affected. And the ones we were talking about were already behind in credits. But COVID exacerbated that situation. And so most of our students at this point are substantially behind in credits. And so part of our job was to identify a way for credit attainment to help them catch up so they wouldn't be discouraged. And so one of the ideas and one of the initiatives that currently is in play is we identified project-based learning. We contracted through the Van Andel Institute to come down and train last year. And the idea behind project-based learning isn't to create shortcuts or anything else. It's simply to create projects that will hit the standards and benchmarks that will be more hands-on and hopefully increase attendance and productivity and enjoyment, and also allow us to grant those credits much like a CTE would. A CTE course allows you that credit for that, and also if you've embedded the standards, you can receive additional credits. So we have looked at how to create internal programming through project-based learning to give them courses that could grant, within reason, multiple credits during the same course, much like a CTE. And so that initiative has been underway last year. It's created some surprising results. There's certainly the engagement piece has been stronger for our students. I was hoping that we would see a substantial increase in attendance, but some of those external variables are very difficult. And so we're still working very hard to get our students there, and when they're there, get them engaged. But those are some of the things currently that we have and are working towards. We are really excited about the opening of the CTE Center. And so we think that based upon what we're structuring with our own programming, project-based, to get them engaged in our programming and how we are doing those things, it will naturally lead to an interest and a pathway to CTE. And so that is our hope. And certainly the credit attainment and being able to get them on track for graduation is paramount, but also not losing sight of, we have to connect them to a pathway that makes sense and has that can create a valuable future for them. And so we look forward to that opening and placing more of our students along that pathway. So, other things, current initiatives, we had the opportunity to purchase a greenhouse, and so that goes hand in hand with some of our project-based learning, raised bed gardens, students designing the space, on top of an ag science class and our foods class and those things, being able to be more active, be up. And so, the recent storm did some damage, and so we have to get a new shed because that blew away, but it wasn't a fire that we encountered at Portage Central, so all things are good along those lines. And we're currently partnering with the Portage Rotary and are very thankful for that partnership. We've made contact. They'll be at Community High this spring. They're going to be helping with our prom, and they'll also help with the establishment of the greenhouse. And we're fortunate that there's some experts within that club that are willing to help. And so we look forward to bridging or making that connection with their members and our students. And so hopefully the weather will cooperate and we'll be able to get the greenhouse up and running. So leads us to some of the current challenges we face. With the current challenges, the building was designed for education in the 50s and 60s. So when you throw in project-based learning and you talk about group activities and you talk about large space and you talk about creating an opportunity to work together and do different type of activities that are not just at a table. The space isn't designed for that. So we're having to get creative, creating some outdoor space, some outdoor learning classrooms if the weather cooperates to be able to do those things. I think also, the nature of our students being at risk means that they have varying needs. And so confidential meeting space in our building is a struggle right now, trying to connect with agencies, trying to give them the space that's needed to address whatever is going on in their life. That's been a unique challenge for us. We are thankful for the support of the district on establishing a program. I've been around long enough to know that not all alternative eds are as fortunate, and so we are fortunate. But the direction we would like to go to meet the needs of our students would require something very different than we currently have. And so that essentially is the report. So are there any questions that you have? I know it wasn't 45 minutes, but I'm trying to go quick.
You mentioned attendance. Can you tell us about the challenges of attendance? Because I don't think you're the only one that's experiencing that.
Yeah, I think for most of our students, whether they come from an outlying district or more specifically Portage Central, Portage Northern, one of their struggles was attendance before they came to us. So building that community is paramount for us. And I'd like to think we're successful, but at times, those outside variables are very strong, whether it's just the inability to see past day to day and be bogged down in that idea that I'm a year to a year and a half behind in credits. And so it's pretty disheartening. And so I think that plays into some of it. Certainly, I would say for a lot of our students, historically their attendance patterns have been marginal. And so those are some things. So when you look at that, trying to develop a different feel for school, not just nice people treating them well, but a different feel. Change that up, change the activities, that it's not the same. And you know, I think that has worked very, very well for some students. Their engagement has, their attendance for some have improved, but their engagement and their productivity is much, much higher. I haven't, in 30 years, have not been able to figure out how to overcome those outside variables that are so strong at times that create absenteeism. So it is still a challenge, and my guess would be it will always remain a challenge. So.
I was one of the board members who asked that you find a way to present the amazing things that you're doing at Community High. And the reason is I know that I have heard comments from less well-informed community members who view Community High as if you're a failure, you go there.
Yeah.
And that is not true. Absolutely not. The reality is that not all students learn in a traditional manner in what we consider a traditional classroom, and some need more personalization, and you use the phrase at risk.
Yes.
But every time that I have had interactions with members of your school community, I see that personalization come through, and teachers who are really going out of their way to personalize something to meet the needs of students who are not traditional learners, or don't learn in traditional styles. And I really appreciate so much of what you do to really make that tagline that we have of every student succeeding reality. Because not everyone will succeed in a traditional way, and you are meeting the needs, and I appreciate that so much. I made note of the word engaging, community engagement, the project-based learning, but you're seeking to really draw out the individual aspects of those children, or not children, they're not children anymore, the teenagers who are there to really personalize things that will pull them in and encourage them to want to be lifelong learners, not just get a GED or get a diploma learner.
I thank you for that, because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, I understand perceptions, and I think that is an unfair perception that something has gone wrong because you attend or may attend an alternative high school. I mean, certainly there are students who are behind in credits. Certainly what makes someone at risk at certain points can change throughout the course of their high school career. But we have a lot of students who are anxiety-based. And we have a lot of students who, I went to a very small high school. If I had to walk into Portage Central or Portage Northern, it would have been overwhelming for me. It really would have. Probably could have done it, but it would have been overwhelming. Where did I fit? I fit in a smaller setting. And so, that being said, I understand it, but so many of our students have so many different reasons, and not all of it is tied to something going wrong. It is about a comfort, it is about a fit, and it certainly is about finding an education or a learning style that fits them. And we're, I think, able to do that because of the small setting that we have.
I get excited every time I learn more about what you do. Thank you for all that you do.
I just want to add my thanks too, because after working at Northern in the DLR, and I saw kids that just thrived in your program, and you've been there for so long, so I just thank you for that. And your staff.
Yeah, we have wonderful staff, absolutely a wonderful staff, so thank you.
And, every few years, a parent will come in and stand at that podium and talk about how Community High saved a kid and put them on a completely different trajectory. And those are special moments. So really appreciate your work, the work of your team.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So thank you.
Thank you for coming, Clint. Thank you for your presentation, and the board appreciates everything you and your staff do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you've never, board members, community members alike, if you've never been to a graduation program at Community High, you really should make it a point to try to attend one of those. It really is a different feel to it than traditional graduations. It's much more personal and heartfelt, and a lot of hooping and hollering sometimes, but it's part of the personality of the program. So get that on your calendars if it's, well, I know you have that because you got the invitation to participate from board presidents. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to our comments and communications section. Does anyone wish to address the board this evening? That's the bell cat. Welcome.
Oh, is she the only one? Okay, we'll turn you off.
I'll try to keep it under 3, but I've got many things. Thanks for having me back. I'm once again happy to share some positive things that are wonderful to happen. Kindergartners at Moores Bridge had their annual ABC parade. All the students worked so hard this year and learned all their letters and the sounds that they make. Each kiddo was assigned a letter and made a vest with all things starting with that letter. They did an amazing job. Thanks to our kindergarten team of Dawn Marasco, Nikki D, Kristen Mulder, and Jackie Pattison for creating this experience. The Free Store is in its 2nd year at Northern High. Student volunteers from Mrs. Doreen, I might be saying her name wrong.
That's right.
That's right, thank you so much. Mrs. Doreen's seminar have helped sort and organize donations. The store is filled with clothes and hygiene items to meet our students' needs. Northern even has received donations from outside organizations like Girl Scouts and local churches. Currently, the only thing they're lacking are leggings and joggers, but everything else is covered. It's been awesome to see the generosity of the school and of the overall community. Angling Road asked for me to give a shout out to their head daytime custodian, Brett Crampton, who's very hardworking. He goes above and beyond daily to keep our building up and running and to support staff and students. So we'd like to thank him for his dedication. A few weeks ago, Northern High sponsored the 16th annual Together for Tulini Drive. Interact and Rotary Clubs have helped sponsor the education of kids in an orphanage in Tanzania for the past 16 years. Every student has donated, or cumulatively donated, $2 each to help send the kids to the orphanage. This year they raised $3,150. Congratulations to Kim Palmer, again Mrs. Doreen, and others who helped champion these clubs. Many of our educators have additional jobs, some also in education. I'd like to celebrate one of my friends, Liz Honeysett, art teacher at Central High, who also teaches evenings at Western Michigan University. She just received a Distinguished Teaching Award from there, of which they give 1 to 3 per year. It's the highest honor given by the university to recognize faculty members for their teaching work. And again, only 1 to 3 are given each year. So congratulations to Liz. We're so lucky to have her at Central High. This past week, I organized the PEA to participate in the Adopt a Highway program. It was just south of Center Street along 131. On Tuesday, it was a beautiful, sunny, 30-degree day. But by the end, we were sweating. No wind along that stretch of highway, and we were actually overheating. About 20 of us volunteered to pick up trash along that 2-mile stretch, both northbound and southbound. Personally, I found it really enjoyable. There was something super zen about just picking up trash and putting it in a bag. It's nice. Our next pickup date is in July. We'd love to invite you out to help. If you're interested, let me know. I'll pass along info as we get some of those dates. And then lastly, as I know we're all aware, the PEA and Portage Public Schools will begin negotiating next week on the 25-26 financial package and calendar. We look forward to working with you all to reach a fair and equitable agreement as quickly and efficiently as possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Pat. We appreciate you coming and sharing your news. Thank you very much. Are there any comments by board trustees this evening?
I just have a quick one. My daughter is at the age of the testing, junior testing, and the SAT, all of that. But the M stuff is coming up, and I read the email, and I just wanted to give a shout out to those that put all the effort in, because they had a schedule of morning or afternoon, and whoever scheduled it went through every single student and figured out if they were off campus, and if scheduling it during that time would mean that they would miss their off-campus class that they've already missed a lot of last week, and scheduled it so they wouldn't miss those off-campus classes. And I just wanted to give a thank you to those who did that. Okay, should I call him out? Yeah. Frank, your husband, Frank, was on the email saying that, but I appreciated the amount of effort and time that went into really personalizing that for each student, and not just random, here you are, there you go, sorry if you miss out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Anyone
And
else?
it's not just because he was your husband.
Anyone else have any comments this evening?
I would just say it's good to be back. It seems like maybe it's been 5 weeks since we've met with spring break in there, so we're back and getting the rust knocked off, and you come back from spring break and it just feels different, and there's this gravity that just pulls us to the end of the school year, and now, trustees have graduation dates on our calendars, and super exciting, and looking forward to the next few months.
For sure. Anyone else? Okay, then, we will move to our consent agenda. We only have a couple of items on it tonight. Minutes from the March 10, 2025 special meeting and the regular business meeting. Are there any exceptions to the consent agenda as presented? Very good. The consent agenda is approved as presented. And now we'll move to assurance of performance, and that is monitoring report 1.3. Mark.
Thank you. This is going to be a little bit of a tag team report. I'm going to do a high-level summary of the report and then turn it over to Dr. Madsen Gearhart, who is going to bring to life a couple of the activities that exist in the district to bring this end to being. But this is one of the 5 major goal statements that the board has, and really speaks to those things that we recognize that students need to acquire to be successful both in school and in life. And the competencies as outlined in policy is gaining skills in self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, building relationship skills, and then being responsible decision makers so that they can build resilience to navigate life. Those along with the other, well, aside from ends 1.1, which is primarily focused around academics, the rest of the end statements, the rest of the goals are around everything else it takes to be a successful member of our society. So really, we appreciate the board's recognition that we have a pretty comprehensive job to do as educators in Portage schools. We've been working both at the elementary level, starting in the 22-23 school year, and more recently, starting last summer at the secondary level, in really unpacking the state standards in making sure that they're being addressed at both the elementary and the middle school level, and then the high school level as well. And you've got in your report some of the activities that are taking place around the district. We don't formally measure these. These are, at some point, there may be a time when we measure these, but currently we don't measure them. One of the things we do is, through our student experience survey, we have 4 questions that we can look at that kind of are related to these, about setting learning goals and tracking progress, about the importance of learning at school, feeling safe at school, and then being challenged by their teachers to think. And so far, we have 2 years of data around those questions, and it's comforting to see that the scores have increased from last year to this year. And because these typically don't end up as like the lowest scores for the buildings, we don't strategically create goals, but it really speaks to the fact that we are doing things and students recognize it, and they continue to grow with the things that we are doing. So most of those scores, especially the learning is important at school, on a scale of 1 to 5 is at a 4.24. Anything over 4 is considered very solid. 4.3 is kind of the gold standard, so we're very close to being at that mark, and the others are very close to the 4.0 mark already. So I think it just reinforces the fact that a lot of good things are happening relative to this particular ENDS policy. And so we've got a couple of things that Janine's going to share with you about what we're doing in our schools, and then maybe collectively we can answer questions if you have them on this report. So, Janine, turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Beeling, and good evening to all of the trustees. Like Mark said, we will be highlighting some great examples of SEL, or social emotional learning, as we know it, in action. A few years ago, when we did adopt the ENDS policy 1.3, I had the opportunity to be here then, and so the way that we approach looking at the ENDS policy is highlighting the good work that's happening in the classrooms and really making sure that people can have just a snapshot in time and a little bit of a peek or a window to see all the good things. We can't highlight it all, so today we're getting a little bit of a crosswalk in there. So one other thing I'd like to specifically address is that our teachers are the leaders, and our leaders are the ones that are enforcing the SEL. They're making those opportunities. They're the climate and the culture within the buildings has really made an impact on our students. So today, if you could, how do I click it right here?
Is it on the side?
Is it on? That helps. Thanks. So in addition to the teachers in the buildings and the classrooms, what we're going to do is highlight some of the supported personnel that are in the building most of the time. And so you'll see up there engagement specialists at the elementary level, school counselors at the middle and high school level. We have school psychologists in buildings, student success coordinators, and mental health coordinators and specialists. So just like students need support, I brought my own support staff so I could give a little bit of a highlight as well. We have Liz Dotson, who is our mental health specialist. We have Ann Gordon, who's, what do you do? Supervisor of ESI extraordinaire. And we have Mary Ann Joint, who is the mental health coordinator, and we have Ms. Effie McCarran, who another extraordinary person who's joined our team this year. So we also have, from our building side, we have Dr. Travis Thompson and Daryl Matthews. We'll get to them in just a few moments from North. Okay, so one of the things that we have in our school improvement plan is to continue engaging families in our community. So these are a couple of areas where we have highlighted the opportunities that we have taken this year to continue making our community engagement connections. So one of the things that I would mention right now is that we have a lot of school events. We have a lot of open houses that are going to be coming up in the fall, as well as we had some kindergarten enrollment, Young 5 enrollment, all of the other activities that people come to. We try to make sure that we have available information at that time. Those are those. And then here are some student support services that happen on a regular basis as well. Mark mentioned about the self-actualization and looking at how a student is going to be ready for the workforce, and the in-school support focuses specifically on your self-regulation and emotional awareness for each student at their grade level. We also have the emotional support dogs, not here today, but maybe next time we'll bring some of those in. We also have some specialized supports that have been new in the last couple of years. We're seeing increase, and I think I heard Clint say something about anxiety and depression in students who have a lot of needs to learn how to cope with situations. And so we've had specialized support specifically for that. And new this year, we're looking at middle school transitional support and substance use education, which we are connected with the community. So the community in and of itself is, our community partners work with Mary Ann specifically, and then Mary Ann works with the building principals to make sure that we can execute all of that information. So that was pretty exciting. It was all free. Everybody loves free. Okay, so I heard that you might have gone to some of the elementaries, and hopefully you saw a class meeting in action. So today we have Summer Walker, who is the engagement specialist. Dr. Alex McCullough is the principal of Lake Center Elementary. And we have an opportunity to peek into Mary Smith's fourth grade class, which is going to give you a different spin on what morning meetings look like, because Mary Smith has allowed her students to take over the morning meetings, and so they're running it. So Barb, if you could click there.
Hi, I'm Summer Walker. I am the engagement specialist at Lake Center Elementary, and morning meetings have been a great way for students to start their day. It gives them the opportunity to be seen and to be heard and feel like they belong in their classroom community.
Treating people really kind and having great work to do. I'm going to give my shout out to Lily because you are very artistic and intriguing.
Give up. I will never give up. I am determined to do my best. I am determined to do my best. Self-reflection will help me succeed. Self-reflection will help me succeed. I can overcome challenges with effort. I can overcome challenges with effort. I can train my brain. I can train my brain.
All right, just because I think it's awesome, can we do the other one that we do every other day, just because it's written by one of our own?
Me.
It's written by you, yeah. All right, let's do it. Just throw it in there.
Speak the truth.
Speak the truth.
Choose the right.
Choose the right.
Do as you must.
Do as you must.
Dream the impossible.
Dream the impossible.
Then you have the power to change the world.
Then you have the power to change the world.
Hi, my name is Gibson. I am in 5th grade and I'm from Lake Center. One of my favorite parts about morning meeting is that we get a fresh start to our day.
Hi, I'm Ben, and something that I like about morning meeting is getting like a fresh start, and also when we have games, it can get like your legs moving and get ready for the day.
Okay, hi, my name is Emilia, and I'm in 4th grade, and I go to Lake Center Elementary. Something that I like about morning meetings are I really like to get your mind ready for the day and kind of get your body moving and get your mind working.
Hi, I'm Summer Walker. I am the engagement specialist at Lake Center Elementary, and morning meetings.
Okay, so just another peek into how morning meetings evolve at every classroom at the elementary level. It looks a little different. So thank you to Mrs. Mary Smith for sharing our information, sharing some of her students in her classroom. All of those students are going to become self-actualized, I am sure, but in the event that all of our middle schools may need some additional training, and we definitely think they need instruction at the middle school level. So we have Dr. Thompson and Daryl Matthews to highlight some of the good work that you guys have been doing. So I'll step aside.
Thank you, Superintendent Mealing, Board, for having us. And share a little bit about what we're doing at North Middle School. This year, North Middle School launched the Reflection Zone, a space designed for students to regroup, reflect, and re-engage, whether due to behavior concerns or as part of a break plan. 960 students have visited so far this year, which is a 43% decrease from last year. Developed through years of staff collaboration, this program is led by a returning staff member, Daryl Matthews. I'm going to let him share a little bit about what his philosophy and take on the program is.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me. The term reflection zone is because the methods that use when the students are sent there for various reasons is the first thing they do is reflect. And they reflect from the side that they're on, they reflect from the side of the teachers and their classmates to try to get through so that their visits to the room become less and less. And there's kids that students I've developed a rapport with, and sometimes the rapport gets to be a hindrance because they want to spend time with me more than they want to engage in their class. And so, that's fine and dandy, but we want to get them to reflect to go back in there. And it's more or less, some of them actually, I can see it in their face when the mirror is put in front of them and they see what they do and how it came off. A lot of it is more or less, we use the term with optics a lot. And they learned how to accept accountability and show remorse. And sometimes that's not only reflected verbally, but it's reflected in a form that they fill out. And the form basically dictates, okay, what did you do or what are you here for? They have to write down that. Sometimes they'll write down what they did versus what the teacher said that they did. So we get to those issues. We get further down and it's like, how did this affect your classmates? How did this affect the teacher? How did this affect you? And so they go through those stages, and I've learned that when they have to write things, it kind of hits them a little better than them just saying it. That's one way. There's another way where we do a apology letter where things are laid out, and it starts out with "Dear," I have it on the board, and that's where the teacher's name goes. And it goes, I'm sorry for talking during instruction. I did it because I was trying to be funny or make people laugh. It was wrong because I shouldn't have been interrupting you. They write all those things down. It gets down to the end where they say, I hope you accept my apology, and sincerely their name. When they have to write that, it's a lot different. There's times when I've gone with kids who didn't want to write, and I go, okay, well, we're going to go back, and I'm going to stand there with you while you verbally say these things. Then all of a sudden it's like, I'll write it. And so, there's a few students that, they have come back a couple days later and said that they've shared their experience with me, with their parents, and that sometimes they'll tell me that I sound like their mom or dad or things like that, or, the way that things go. It's been a pretty interesting, year thus far. Coming back to North, I previously worked 2010 to 13 in the old building when Dr. Harris was the principal. And I was a hall supervisor then, and went to another district and honed my skills in where I am now. But to come back and be engaged, it's been great. It's been welcoming there. The feedback has been great. When I got those numbers, I was like, wow, because that's a very big, decrease, which, says a lot. And just, happy that things are panning out and working. I know I've seen some of you have come through, and I've talked to you and shared some things with you, and it's just been going really well. Hopefully it continues, and we can maybe get that down some more. Does anybody have any questions? on how things go?
No, but I want to say that when we met with you last fall, I guess it was just so impressive how it all works together. And I had my doubts about some of this kind of talk therapy or whatever you want to call it. But when I listened to what you said and what kids said, I thought, oh, this really makes sense. They're really thinking about what they're doing and how it affects other people and them. And so, great job. Great job.
When you were there that day, the best thing was a student actually came in. And you actually got to see it because I was talking to you about it, but I noticed in how you became engaged when the student and I were having the conversation. So that day, that was perfect timing for me and you.
It was good.
Yes.
I'm curious how your teachers and other school staff have responded to your efforts there.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I have a cold, sorry. I'm curious about how the teachers and other staff in the building have responded to your success.
It was a slow process at first. I think Dr. Thompson probably, because there were some teachers that were there when I was there 15 years ago. So I kind of knew them and such in a different manner, but there were some that were skeptical and things, but I've invited some of them to come in with their student so they could see kind of like, what you did and see how things go. And, some of them had to come down because they wondered why the kids would walk into class and request to just come there, with no reason and things, and so.
I think one of the things that Daryl is good at with kids is that relationship building.
Yes.
And that extends to the staff as well, because it took some time for people to trust in that process, that they're not going there to get a consequence and coming back. Oftentimes they go there, they reflect, they have that conversation with Daryl, they see what the issue is, they go back and they re-engage, which is what we wanted, right? Kids were spending a lot of time in the office. I mean, like Daryl pointed out, or I pointed out, 1,600 less referrals up to this point in the year. That's 1,600 less interactions that Mr. Med and I are having, allowing us to do the work of improving test scores, making sure our parents are happy, making sure our staff is taken care of. So what Daryl is doing has allowed us to be more of those instructional leaders and building leaders and taking some of that pressure off of the office staff. So that's been a game changer for us in a lot of ways.
And do you still deal with the more serious behavioral situations or, physical altercations or whatever? I'm assuming that, Daryl, you're not doing that. Those people still go to the office.
They go there, but sometimes I may be a person that when the teachers are filling out things, when we get there and have that conversation, then you find out by going through that, okay, this is bigger, and then I make a call to Dr. Thompson or Mr. Med and say, hey, we got other issues going on. Because sometimes the teachers will see something when they see it, and then when they get there and engage with one student, you find out what's going on. Or sometimes two students come and they're walking into the room, and the way they're looking at each other, it's like, okay, we got to find out what's going on. So that, the bigger things still go to the office, but they're not dealing with the small things as much as they were in the past.
Could you speak to the impact your work is having on elementary students who are transitioning to middle school? What you're seeing there as a result of your work?
That would be the 6th grade that have just entered, and those are kind of my favorites right now, just because they're at that age where they're learning the middle school transition and how things work. And just from talking to them, there's a lot of things that they're learning to understand. And a lot of the talks is, you transition from elementary to middle school, and then we're going to get you ready for the next level. And so the impact is occurring there because they're understanding things. And part of my personal goal is, in a couple years, for that group to be less and less frequent coming to me, because I will have had more engagement with them. And so they're learning my ways more so because they're new to the building as I am. They're gonna form into what's going on with me more. Like if you're in the 8th grade, it's like, okay, I'm only gonna be here for a few more months. I'm not, so that's where the struggle comes in sometimes. But the sixth graders they're still sixth graders, And a lot of times I point out with them, telling them I was a sixth grader. Because I know when I was their age, sometimes I thought adults were just adults, that, sometimes the way that we were talked to, it wasn't like the adults were ever children. And sometimes I can come down to their level and they welcome me in to engage with them, and that helps the process better.
Thank you.
Well, and some of it is just you.
Thank you.
And so we're really grateful and fortunate to have you doing this, because not everybody can do it and be successful.
Yeah, that is true. I've worked with some people in the methods and things. I guess it's kind of like sometimes with teaching or coaching. Every science teacher isn't going to be the same way, or every coach isn't going to be the same way. But I guess I developed what I do to the culture and climate of North Middle School, so I can engage with them on their level. They let me in.
Well, I do want to echo that, because I do think the type of position and person that we look for is unique. I mean, you can have a system in place, but you put the wrong person in the right system, it's not going to work. We have the right person in the right system right now.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to add here at the end, we spend a lot of time getting data on how we're doing as a district on the 3 R's, right? And super, super important stuff. But teaching young people how to recover from mistakes, that's an incredible service. Very important.
Because a lot of them, with the apology, the written form or the apology letter, that's new to them, but it's working, because it's, they're transitioning and processing things to, a lot of times, a lot of talks are like, hey, one day you're going to be at a job someday, and this is, how you're going to have to react to this, or, do you play a sport? Okay, well, you got to listen to the coach, and, if you go to Mr. Johnson's class, he's the coach of algebra for that hour, and, so.
And we all mess up. Yeah. And we all mess up throughout our lives, and learning how to recover from that effectively, that's the difference between success and failure a lot of times.
And that goes back to the reflection part, and it's the reflection zone. So they come there and get zoned, and then we zone them back into class.
I appreciate your apology letter. When I taught middle school and high school, I banned this phrase, "I'm sorry," from students, because I'd hear, "I'm sorry," and then they'd go and do exactly the same thing within seconds sometimes. And being able to reflect on that and say, this is how I'm going to change because of what I'm doing is huge. But when I read the monitoring report, and even before I heard you speak, I jotted down the phrase regulation before education. And that is the core of what you were saying, is that you are teaching students how to regulate so that they can learn. Because if they're dysregulated, they can't learn. And that is such a base to everything that the school does. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just add that, it wasn't that long ago, well, maybe it's been a little while, that we, for those kind of behaviors that you're dealing with now, our solution was to suspend students from school. Mm-hmm. And, when students aren't in school, they're not learning, and they're probably developing worse habits than they're coming to us with by doing that. So this is a step, moving away from suspension, and it's reinforced through one of our operational policies around, student behavior, suspensions, and that really talks to us about doing what we can to keep kids in school before we remove them from the learning environment. And I credit you for doing that and keeping students engaged and understanding where they need to make some improvements. So thank you for your work. Janine, anything else?
Oh, no.
Any questions for Janine on the other parts of that, or for me? All right. Thank you. Thank you, board.
No questions?
Thank you.
We have a motion on page 13 to approve the monitoring report.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education accept as presented the monitoring report on 1.3 ends as a reasonable interpretation and evidence of compliance with policy.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Terry. Any discussion?
I mean, I would say this is one of these reports that, just the nature of the issue, there's not a lot of data. I applaud the fact that you have over the years developed some data, and we get some of that in this report, so much appreciated.
I thought it was really interesting to see how this has evolved over the years, you know. It's become a real important part of what the district does. And it was really good to see the presentation and the monitoring report, which was excellent. Okay then, all those in favor of approving monitoring report 1.3, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes and the monitoring report is approved. Now we have a required action item on page 21, the K-RISA biennial election resolution. Is there a motion, please? Oh, we can't do that yet. We have to talk about it a little bit.
Well, you really have, this is legislation that came about for local school districts to follow regarding ISD elections, and this is the first resolution that you have to approve so that you can approve the next resolution at your next meeting, just saying that you'll be appointing a person to vote at the June election. I think that meeting is at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure. Do you know, Randy, offhand?
They changed it to 5:30.
Oh, wow. I wasn't aware of that, so thank you. But you'll be, the process is you'll be, eventually the nominees for the position, for the board position, the board seats that are open at K-RISA will become known. Each district in the RISA has the ability to vote on who that will be, assign a voting member. It does not have to be a board member, but it usually is. And an alternate to go to that election and cast a ballot on behalf of the Portage Board of Education. So this is the first step in that lengthy process. Is there anything, you're on the K-RISA board, is there anything that you care to add to that?
I just wanted to say that on June 2nd, the day of this election, there's a lot of activity at Woodland. The groundbreaking's at 2:15, and I don't know, there's a walkthrough someplace, but anyway.
That'd be right after the groundbreaking. There's a walkthrough of the old Woodland on that same day, I think is what it is.
And that's 5 to 6:30, and the Woodland groundbreaking's at 2:15. And of course, this meeting's at 5:30. Anyway. Okay.
So I don't have anything else to add to it.
No, we ought to just do it. There's a motion, please, on page 21.
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution to consider designation of electoral representative for the June 2nd, 2025 biennial election as presented.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Our next item is a very important item. Action item number 1, Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week proclamation. Is there a motion, please, on page 25?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve this Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week proclamation as presented.
Thank you, Kimberly. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a volunteer to read the Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week proclamation?
Sure. I'll do it. Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week proclamation. Whereas a strong, effective, free public education for all children is critical to our democracy at the national, state, and local level, and whereas a strong public school system makes for a strong community, and whereas the vision of Portage Public Schools is to be an exceptional, continuously improving learning culture with high expectations committed to all, and whereas the commitment Portage Public Schools teachers and staff show to students by inspiring them to succeed academically, artistically, socially, and athletically is essential to making the vision a reality. And whereas our educators go above and beyond for our students, making a lasting contribution to their lives. Therefore, the Board of Education of Portage Public Schools does hereby proclaim May 5 through 9, 2025 as Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week in the Portage Public School District and encourages all citizens to thank educators for their daily work. Adopted this 14th day of April 2025, Portage Public Schools Board of Education.
Thank you, Terry. Are there any comments or discussion?
Just a comment. As a teacher, I know how hard teachers work. I know that it's normal for teachers to work outside of the classroom, outside their contracted hours. I read that the equivalent of 52 weeks of work is crammed into a school year by teachers. And so when we talk about teachers having summers off, it's not really. They've earned it. They have put in the time, front-loaded the time to have that. And that doesn't include summers of continuous education that teachers are spending doing that. Teachers have to act as teachers, as counselors, as first aid providers, mediators, and on and on and on. It just adds up. And you guys are experts in your field. And I wanted to note, just make it known that not just with the proclamation as formally worded as it is, but just to simply say that you guys are seen and appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, so many people in the district doing really hard work, doing it well, doing it professionally, and maintaining a good attitude in the process. And it's so appreciated.
Well, I think every week should be Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week for sure. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of approving the Teacher and Staff Week Appreciation Week proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The proclamation is approved. We'll move to our first discussion item, which is copy and print services. Hi, Ryan.
Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Beeling. Not as exciting as Teacher Appreciation Week, but gotta have copy
Staff
machines.
too.
Staff, right? So tonight, I recommend that the Board of Ed authorize Superintendent Beeling or his designee to enter into a 3-year agreement with Adams Remco with the option to extend that to up to 2 additional years for the lease of copy print equipment, along with the maintenance and the service that comes along with that. Cost breakdown is what we'll talk about next. And the term of the agreement wouldn't start until July 1, and then extend no later than June 30th of 2030. So I wanted to highlight a few things. The payments would come from a general fund. That's something to consider. So in here, if you would look at the cost breakdown, I did want to highlight just a few things. You'll notice that the lease fees for the equipment are only in the first 3 years. So what we're really talking about is the approval of that 3-year lease. You have to know that the costs overall have to be estimated because there's a charge per copy. So in the copy biz, they call it impression. So per impression fee, and that's all in the breakdown. So these averages are based on what we saw, number of copies for the last 5 years. We are just finishing our current 5-year agreement, something very similar that we did the last really 10 years with Adams Remco in addition. So the current fleet of our, what you would call a multi-function printer, which is what you think of when you see a big copy machine and all the angry memes and mad at the machine and all that kind of stuff. So that's, we have about 72 of those in the district. And of course, this is district-wide, not just this building or admin building. Those are in their 5th year of service. We also have about 43 dedicated network printers throughout the district. Those are in their 10th year of service. So those are really due for a replacement. And the admin building copy machine has been known to squeak a lot lately. So it's getting up in age. We did release an RFP on all available channels. We had multiple responses. Adams Remco was the lowest bidder, once again. And given our years of experience with them, their prompt service, their responsiveness. We recommend that we go with them again. Any questions?
I think we got to do it.
Add this to the list of.
It'd be interesting to see how we would function without copiers and printers.
We don't want to see it, yeah.
Teachers need their copiers. They need their printers. It is panic when it breaks down.
Sure.
Both from the teacher perspective of seeing things getting fixed in a timely basis when you really, really need it. And add this to the weird list of jobs that Kimberly has had. I worked in a shop that did this. And it just is very reasonable from what I can see, just having been many, many years ago on the other side of things. And
One question that came up that I didn't think about before was comparing what our cost was before. I remember looking at it and thinking, wow, it's not that much different. But if you're interested, I can send that along soon. Many districts, I would say the overwhelming majority of districts do something like this because it takes the burden off, frankly, off of a technology department or a school secretary or someone that just knows how to kick the thing the right way or whatever, right? So you kind of take that load and that burden of maintaining devices that get used heavily and constantly. And for us in the tech department, we can focus on keeping students learning, keeping teachers teaching. And so that's why this also is a really good idea and why you see a lot of school districts do this type of thing.
Any questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Our next discussion item is the PCEC roof repair.
Thank you again. We heard about the lovely building at PCEC from Lindsay French a couple weeks ago, and you're in the second round of that from the other side of the building with Clint Wagner. Essentially, this is a roof repair to extend the life of the building at PCEC. This repair would get us about 5 to 6 more years out of the building, a building that was originally built in 1951. As you can imagine, we've had a number of repairs over the course of time. We're asking OAK to manage this project for us. The lowest qualified bid was Apex Industrial Roofing. Their bid came in at $371,407. That's including an alternate walkway that would give, in the event of a repair, an easy access point on the roof. So we accepted the alternate. With all of the associated fees, the grand total of the repair, $442,780. As the board will know, some of the things related to the contingency is pretty standard, but in the event we don't need roughly that 10% contingency, that would return back to the district. This this repair would come from our building and site sinking fund, which our voters continued that extension last year, and this does not impact our general fund, which is a great benefit to have. So that's my recommendation. I'll be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Got to do this too?
Yes, yes. Especially when we have hard rain. It's a challenge.
Any questions for Jenny? Are we good?
I like that it gains us 5 to 6 years.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny. We now have a motion on page 42 to go into closed session. Can a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education move into closed session to discuss collective bargaining strategy as allowed under the Open Meetings Act 15.268, Section 8C.
Thank you, Bo. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, and this is a roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Rohr?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mrs. Novaria?
Yes.
Mr. Van Antwerp?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Larson?
Yes.
Dr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Very good. The motion is approved, and we will move into closed session in this room.
Sure.
Okay.
Empty out the room.
Okay, very good. And we're not coming back into open session, so our regular meeting is adjourned.
The camera.